6:03, I'm calling this meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli,
Here.
Pena,
Here.
Graziano. Graziano?
I just got a message he left. I think he may have.
Well, he's in town hall, so he could very well have Wi-Fi issues.
Notori,
Here.
Rovell,
Here.
Jumalo Burke,
Present.
Mayor Melham.
Here. Let the record reflect that Councilman, Deputy Mayor Graziano is back with us. Show yourself, please. T. Graziano, is that him? Okay. Sunshine?
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was published in the Thursday, December 24th, 2020 editions of the Belleville Times and Star Ledger. In an effort to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public meetings have been changed to Zoom. A copy of the annual meeting notice has been posted on the Belleville Town Hall Bulletin Board, and copies are on file in the municipal clerk's office.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of
The States of America, to the republic for
and
which
to the
it
republic for
stands,
which it stands,
and under God,
nation, under God,
liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
I'm on a meeting. Call me back.
I'm just going to try and remind everybody to keep their phones on mute unless they're voting or speaking. Next item on our agenda is the executive session. Unfortunately, we do need to go into executive session today. So in a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session. We are discussing 3 different items. It is, we're going to receive one of our attorneys and our tax assessors to discuss the hospital exemption and potential litigation. We're going to discuss a second matter, which is potential litigation. And C, we're going to discuss contract negotiation. So every time I give an estimate how long we're being executive, I'm wrong. This one's not going to be short, though, everybody. I think it's going to be a little bit. So with that being said, in a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session. I see some new faces here. I just want to give the disclosure and the caveat that when we go into executive session, no action is taken while we're in private session. We're simply going to be discussing things that are set as private. Usually, we traditionally ask the audience to leave when we're in person. However, in this case, since we're all virtual, we're going to go into a separate breakout room. Every single member of the council, members of the administration, any of our invited guests, which in this case would be some of our attorneys, are going to leave the room, go into executive session. Everybody else is going to stay right here. So stay put. There's nothing for you to do. As soon as I get a motion to go in executive and a second, we're going to take a quick vote on that. Every member that has to leave the room will get a notification to leave the room. Again, no action will be taken while we're in executive session. It's going to be a little bit, sorry about that. When we come back, we're going to resume the rest of our meeting. Sorry, but this is the only way to do it.
Motion to go into private.
With all that said,
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, everybody. So council members, administration, there should be an invite to a breakout room right now. I'm going to give it a second. Once you leave this room, we're going to be in private session. Everybody else, please just stay put. If you are an attorney or somebody that's going to be speaking in this private session, you'll be invited at your designated time. So just stay put where you are, okay? Thank you. I'm leaving, everybody. It is 7:07. We have left executive session. I'm just trying to count heads to make sure everybody's out of the breakout room. And we are here. Forgive the blue glasses. I've been looking at a computer screen for 11 hours today. Do we have everybody? Somebody help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we have almost everybody. Okay, so as I said, sorry about that. It was a little bit, almost an hour or so of executive session. No action was taken while we're in executive session. We did entertain a motion to leave executive session. We're now back here resuming the public portion of our meeting. The next topic on our agenda is the combined conference regular meeting. I'll just let anybody who's here for the first time know that this is the first meeting of the month. We have 2 council meetings a month, and the first council meeting of the month, any council member or I guess member of the administration can put anything they want on the agenda to have a conversation. I know it's a little awkward because this conversation is a conversation between us and our professionals and invited guests. So any member of the public that hears something or has a question or wants to question something, they have the ability to do that during the public portion of our meeting coming in a little bit. So it's a little awkward. Right now, you're going to witness a conversation amongst ourselves and our invited guests. That's the way that these meetings run, so that's all we could do. So we have here, the first thing is something that I put on the agenda. Not quite sure why I had it put on the agenda, but it is to receive and discuss Health Pilot. So we have Mike, Mike, say your name, help me out with the name. Sapienza?
Sapienza.
Sapienza?
Mike is muted.
You're muted. You're muted.
Oh,
Sorry
wait
about
a
that,
minute.
guys. Yes, correct, Sapienza.
Okay, we like it. So that's a good start. So just so the members of the public know, GovPilot was invited here to give a presentation. They are a local government software company. They provide various softwares to the best of my knowledge, and they're here to give us a presentation on what they want to offer the Township of Belleville.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I share it? Can I do the screen share?
Yes, you can.
Great.
The one caveat I'm going to give you, Mike, is traditionally, since we have a lot of topics on the agenda today, we try and keep it to about 10 minutes or so. If you can do that, that would be great.
You got it, sir. I could zip through this pretty quickly and concisely, and then maybe even answer some questions with a few minutes left.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Mike Sapienza, a solutions specialist with GovPilot. We are a New Jersey-based company out of Hoboken and Manasquan. We've been in business about 7 years now. And what we do is we provide a digital cloud-based software solution for virtually every process a local government can do, other than collecting taxes and financial accounting software. We handle everything from clerk functions, health department, public works, construction permitting, code enforcement, and a lot more. We actually have 143 different modules to help with those things. We've been recognized, if you could see our screen here, in the GovTech top 100 most forward-thinking companies the last 4 years running, including this year. That is companies like Microsoft and Google and Oracle that are leaders in government technology and forward thinking. So we're pretty proud of that. What we basically do is we follow the guidelines that have been put forth by the ICMA and various advisory boards that say local governments, and this is for years now, should be moving to unified departments instead of having multiple disparate softwares. Have a system that can run everything and talk to each other and share data, have that transparency so that elected officials, department heads, and in some cases, even constituents can have access to this information instead of it being bottled up in black boxes. Everything is cloud-based. It could be reached inside of a truck, at your house, in your office. Anybody can access the system from anywhere. God forbid we have another COVID type situation ever in our future and doors are locked at City Hall, business can still be conducted with all these processes. And it results in a lot of time savings for the staff, which ultimately results in cost savings for the municipality. Something that we have that's also very unique is we offer unlimited user licenses so that when you can see here, you would log into the system. Anybody that's an employee of the town, police department, elected officials can all have their own user access, customize their own dashboard here so that they can get to the things they need in an instant. You know, elected officials might want to see snapshots of things that are happening in departments and in big picture, while a permit technician is going to want really fine detail. That's what these tiles are. They're shortcuts to get you where you want to go very quickly, and everybody's got that individual user experience. Another really cool thing we have is a property profile. A property profile gives you the ability to have everything that's happening on that parcel logged in such a way that if it's a pet license, a construction permit, a code violation, whatever it may be, that record all resides in this property profile. No more bouncing around in one software to the other software or calling departments that have things on paper. Everything is in one place. And we also populate it with this tax assessment information, which we bring in from the tax assessor's office and refresh weekly, further cutting down the need to have a feed to the tax assessor, having to get onto their website when your staff is trying to verify information, all of this in one place. Also, what we provide is a GIS mapping system. GIS is just a geographical information system, but it's a very easy to use system. It's not the typical high level, you need training how to use it. These maps by many of our clients are actually placed public facing as well as used internally. They're great tools for searching things. They cut down drastically on OPRA requests, open record requests from your departments, because you guys, if you choose, can put a lot of this information public facing and save the time for the departments and the constituents from waiting 5, 6, 7 days for information. They could get it in 30 seconds by getting online. This is all part of our system. And then internally, for your public works department, your inspections that are done, health department, they could plot things on the map. They could start to forecast things like road repairs that are necessary, track them, plot them for looking back to see at things that have been done. We offer inspection applications that can be done from the phone. Of course, the system can be done from tablets or laptops as well, but even in their absence, any inspector can just use a free downloadable inspection application. We offer another phone application where the residents can literally get on, click on our Gov Inspect app. They'll be geolocated to their exact spot. They can pick from a drop-down menu that we'll configure with you that'll say, here's my concern, there's a pothole, here's a picture of it, click, submit. That live information goes to the departments, and then workflow starts. It's all automated. If that's a pothole, that's going to go to Bobby's department. If there's a overgrown grass, that's going to go to Corinne. She's going to spearhead that. So automation kicks in and it cuts down drastically on your staff's time. But the other good part is it's going to automatically notify everybody in the process. You're not going to have contractors calling, hey, did my inspection pass? Or people who've complained, what's going on? My neighbor still has this RV parked on his grass. They're going to automatically be notified every time a status changes. So they're going to know that you guys are working on it without having to reach out to you and talk to somebody on the phone for 10 minutes where that staff could be working on something more productive. We've got a lot of case studies that show, for example, this is Elizabeth. They deployed code enforcement software with us, many other things, but this is just one example. And we did a case study with them. What happened after you deployed this? They saw every employee save at least 2 hours a day from wasted phone calls, unnecessary paperwork, 82% drop in call volume alone, because the system was handling it digitally, both internally and externally. Everybody's involved and notified without ever having to pick up the phone. Some of our notable clients, as I said, we are based out of New Jersey, but we're in 23 states now. Big Bear Lakes all the way out in California. You might recognize like Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But we have Bergen County, Hudson County, Camden County, Trenton, the capital, is an unlimited user, Atlantic City, Elizabeth, Union. I can go on and on. There's a little over 70 New Jersey clients alone. That is, in my fastest version that I could give you guys, in a nutshell, the type of service that we provide, and just a little taste of what it actually does to get the constituent into the 21st century with digital technology, things they can do on their phone that they're doing every day, digital forms that they can go online and fill out at 11 o'clock at night, and they've done all the keystrokes for your staff. The system's populated the next morning when they come in to start and open those tasks. So that you've heard what we do in very quick fashion, is there any questions that come from anything that I've said.
So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open it up now to members of the council and obviously any of our senior administration that's here right now that has any specific questions. I will say, thank you. It was a good presentation. It was somebody's
Very
presentation. It was nice and streamlined executive summary. I will say, I think most people know this. I am not in this space, but I dabble in the surrounding of it, I guess. I don't do what you do. But I do play in the public sector. I do integrate with your company. I have clients that have integrated with your company. And for me, it's a question of, I like the product. I have clients that use it. The questions that remain for me is and I'm not asking these questions, I'm just being rhetorical. I'm just saying that, is it something that's for Belleville right now? Is it something that we can afford? Is it something that our employees will integrate with? And more importantly, is it something that our citizens will integrate with? Those are the questions that I'm going to be pondering over the next week or so. But I'm going to open up to any members of the council to see if they have anything to add to the conversation.
Hi, Tommy, Councilman Graziano is here. Mike, if you have a minute.
Absolutely.
Just looking at the product, it looks good. It looks user friendly. But, comes to my mind, and I would love to take you offline and have more conversation on technical stuff like single source of truth, right? Because you're only good as the data that you put in as you get out, right? So where is it all coming from? And that all has to be done manually, and timeframes to do all of that across all of the widgets. Other things that come to my mind is it's an upkeep, right? There has to be an upkeep to it. And then like you touched on something before that said, tasks, right? Because there's certain things that happen in the town that automatically have tasks. So I'm in the IT world, and like we use ServiceNow for trouble tickets, right? So what happens is a task come to me, and then once I'm done with it, it has to go to someone else because it requires them and them and them. And they all have timeframes and possibly SLAs to them, right? Because with this, it's
Your workflow. You're talking about a workflow.
workflow or tasks, right? Either or.
Yeah, it's a workflow.
And so these are the things that come to my mind, among other things, but I would love to sit down and have a meeting with whoever else wants to be part of it to see. But first go around, it looks good and looks friendly, user friendly.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, love to do that. And I would probably bring on our CIO because I'm certainly not the super tech savvy one for those questions, but certainly, yes, workflow, automation, everything you just mentioned, that's all part of the system.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mike, this is Steve Ravel.
Hey, Steve.
My understanding after talking to your CIO is this is basically a Microsoft infrastructure with Microsoft SQL Server and a stack sitting out there on a cloud, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that kind of gives you an idea. They are using SQL Server. They are trying to create a single source of the truth. And I believe, with their workflow and their other stuff. But, Mike and his people can give you a really good insight, I believe, Tom.
No, thank you. Thank you. And then one other one, is there you have any financials in here?
Financials on our company or financial software?
No. Financial software that, embeds this, like purchasing stuff. Is that part?
We do have some. We have bids and RFPs, and we have contract management, and some things finance uses. We can go over that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anybody, any other member of the I do see that we have the manager here. I know we have, a lot of this really revolves around construction code departments. I know we have our construction code official, our director here. I don't know if he wants to interject anything into this. Even though this is a conversation between the council, if Mr. DiLorenzo has anything to add to it, that certainly we would welcome that.
Yes, Mayor, it's very seamless for us. It'll be an asset for my department if we had it. I've been dealing with these guys for a while now, and it's like the best thing out there, and it's going to help us very much if we get it.
Hey, I got a quick question for Cal. I know that Kelly, you've been piloting some of this stuff. Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
I can't hear.
Can you hear me now, Cal?
Yes, I can. Now I can.
Yeah, I believe you've been piloting some of this software just to get an idea from an Oprah perspective and other ways that this might possibly be used.
Yes, it would probably cut our work down 30%.
So, I mean, I know Oprahs have been a big problem for us over the years, and they continue to get worse.
Huge.
But now let's just, I mean, let's just let everybody know that's listening. It's not like the township has, or our departments have no software. I mean, they currently have existing software independently of each other. And I get it. This looks like it's a better mousetrap. That's good. You know, it looks like a better mousetrap. But as I mentioned to the council, and you're going to hear in our next presentation, or as we continue with the caucus, you know, we are looking at the council doesn't seem to want to acknowledge this, but we are looking at a $5 to $6 million budget shortfall this year. And I'm not quite sure right now is the time to invest $250,000 in a better mousetrap. I think it's good. I like it. I think it's user friendly. I think our departments could utilize it. However, you know, it's not like we're writing stuff down with pen and paper here. It's not like we're using spreadsheets. And every department independently already has software. And as I spoke in executive session exactly a year ago today, we had this particular department in before us on March 10th, 2020. And the council asked, you know, what can we do? What do you need? And new software just never came up. I think it's good. I think it's a better mousetrap. I'm just not quite sure in the budget crisis that we are in right now. $250,000 in 5 years is something that's I'm willing to do, but I guess we'll have to hash that out.
Hey, I understand, but I mean, making an investment in the future is what we need to do. And basically you're talking maybe a 2 to 3 year return on investment, which I think would more than, you know, justify any expenditure at this point. So, I mean, we'll find out as we move forward, but.
Any other council members?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question for Mr. De Lorenzo. If he can just give me just a few examples how it would benefit his department, because he did say before it would be a big asset to his department. If he can just give me just a few examples here.
Well, just like what Mike said, the presenter said to us, that it's going to make my staff in a timely fashion do things quicker. It's going to be more user friendly for the citizens. They're going to be able to implement complaints during the night, and we'll get them in the morning. They could actually do a permit online if they want to do that. So it's going to be a lot better for everybody, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I had a question. I guess this could be directed to the town manager and I guess everyone else within IT. In my company, I've done transitioning from one software to another, and I know that was not a smooth transition. And we realized there were a lot of things that needed to be addressed when it came to the system and everything that was able to support that system. So my question is, are we right now able to support that right away? If this was to be, if we started using it, you know, what's the process in terms of accounts or any information that's getting transferred? What's the cost and the time frame in terms of training staff? You know, just trying to understand what that timeline looks like and what gaps might be in between, and whether we actually have the infrastructure to start using it right away, if that were the case.
Naomi, if I may answer.
Yeah, anyone that could answer that.
How I look at things is when you're doing a transition or an upgrade in anything, you need to find out your requirements, and then
exactly.
the data that you're going to take over, you want to make sure it's right? Because if there's something not right or of course wrong, or you want to change it, it should be done at that time. So when you go over to a new platform, whatever platform is, it needs to be 100% on what each and every division wants it to be. Otherwise, if you put it in wrong, it's just more wrong. But again, I'm sure with the due diligence that, you know, once it gets, if we go through with it, the due diligence, that will be part of it. That's just my thought and how, in my capacity, that's what we did and do.
You guys are both dead on with that. And we actually did get all the backup files prior to contract just to verify, because that was one of Frank and Corinne's biggest concern. Will we be able to get a clean transfer, A, and B, we don't, you know, we're not here to set and build systems up. We're a construction team, and that's what we do. We don't take any of the IT people. We basically do all the heavy lifting. We're transferring all the data into the system, which we have already verified prior from their current system, which they'll also be going off of. And I don't know if I'm privy to the exact costs, but that cost will also be going away.
Hey, Mike, this is Steve again.
Hey, Steve.
You mentioned Corinne. Is Corinne on this call?
She's, yeah, hold on, I'm muted. She is on, she's here. Yeah.
Corinne, have you been working with this already?
Yes, we have worked with them. Yeah. Hold on one moment.
You're a little echoey.
She's in the same room because she's the Zoom administrator. When she speaks, we're getting feedback from the computers. Do you want to mouth what you want to say and I'll say it? Can you guys hear her now? She speaks?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we did do a couple demos for different modules with GovPilot. It does seem like a great program in and of itself. We have been through 2 different programs since I've been here, which is almost 5 years. So taking that into consideration, my biggest fear was what Councilwoman Pena said with the data conversion. I do think that it's great and user friendly for people who are computer savvy. Not everyone is, I think it's a work in progress, but yes, I have worked with Mike and his team to, get a better idea of what GovPilot could offer.
So I think that's a valid point. I mean, this would be our third software company in 5 years. I think data conversion, like Councilman DePena mentioned, is something that we have to worry about. I'm not quite sure if I've ever lost data before, but losing data is never a good thing. Mike, you said something before when you were ending. You said you've been integrating, or prior to contract, you had been working. I didn't
integrating. This was a big fear of Corinne initially. And what we did was we got a backup file from your current software provider of all of your data, and we gave it to our department. They opened it up, they examined it, they verified it, that it was clean, that it was mappable to be brought into our system with no problem. They picked a couple addresses randomly just to spot check us, and everything worked. So we've never really ever had a problem with data transfer, but you never know. Better to be safe than sorry. So typically we do that, and we did do that in this case prior.
But
so
you
the data management system there, but it's clean.
That you did that though prior to. I didn't know what you meant when you said prior to contract.
Prior to bringing you guys to the table to come to a contract.
Okay.
And just to be totally transparent, Mike, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, are we up and running with open requests in the clerk's office or days away?
Yeah, that has a few modules are built out. I know we've got some final information from Kelly last week. So the Oprah module, and I think maybe business licensing, the ones that are ready to be tested and then trained upon.
So I guess it's a good point, Anthony. I guess that's I'm just a little confused. Are we in like a free trial period, or what is going, like, where are we right now?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking somebody. I'd love to know the answer.
Yeah, this is what's the onboarding stage when we start to bring the system on.
Mr. Manager, you got to explain this one to me. I'm sorry, I'm lost.
Okay, so, and I thought I made it clear again. We had a previous, this all started from the construction department, when the construction department asked us to replace the existing software that they were using with this newer.
They asked you. I don't remember an us in that, but they asked you.
It was the 2020 budget committee, and that was Judith, myself, Mark. We discussed replacing the 18,000 software program that we were spending $18,000 a year with this contract, which is 45, but this does up either 9 or 10 departments. So at that point, we did execute an agreement, and that after we executed the agreement, I don't even know what month that was. I'd have to go back and look at the date. GovPilot came in and started for what they I guess, paraphrase, they build out, which means they download our information into the system. And again, I was under the impression that the Oprah request software package out of the clerk's office will probably be up and running within days. And if I'm wrong, certainly correct me.
So I'm probably maybe I'm the only one that's very confused. Are we currently under contract right now with GovPilot?
Yeah, I don't know if I sent it to the entire council. I know I sent it to you, Steve, Tommy, Vinny. The agreement that I did sign, I signed it. And again, I signed it based on the fact that the previous manager signed the City 5 contract. I looked, there wasn't a resolution, so I did, and I proceeded in that direction.
I just would have
And
preferred to have, I would have preferred to have this presentation before we were in contract. Okay.
I think you're absolutely 100% right on that,
Okay.
that statement.
Anybody else? Any members of the council? We do have to move on. Hearing none. Okay, Mike, I thank you for the presentation. Very informative.
Am I staying for something else too also, guys, or are you done with me now?
No, I think we're done. We have to move on with the rest of the agenda.
Appreciate your time, everyone. If you have any other questions, Mr. Graziani, feel free, reach out to me and I'll set up a little conversation with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're just gonna let Mike unshare his screen now.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. There you go, guys.
There you go.
Thank
All
you.
right, we are back. Okay, that was informative in many ways, I think. So the next item on our agenda was a item called recreation cannabis. Just I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this. Obviously, the state, the voters of the state of New Jersey voted. 60 or 70% said that they wanted to do recreational cannabis. That then went to the state legislature. I do believe that 60 to 70% wanted that. I'm not quite sure they necessarily signed up for all the
Fine print. You froze, Mike.
He froze.
You're
Mayor, you're
frozen.
frozen.
Nice.
Deputy Mayor, take over.
frozen.
Frozen. It's like the movie.
And I'm
Oh,
not
there he is.
frozen.
There you
here.
go. You're
Can
unfrozen.
everybody still hear me? Just nod.
You're still
Can everybody
freezing.
still hear me?
Keep freezing up, man.
No, they're all frozen.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
You're unfrozen, I think.
Now you're good.
No audio?
Yeah. Well, I think Kraz is frozen too.
We're frozen in time. I can see you, Ant.
I'm not frozen.
You're not frozen.
The mayor's gone now.
Hey, there's Gabby. There's Gabby. I see Gabby, man.
I'm back, everybody. Can everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes,
I said we fix the Wi-Fi before we do anything else in the building.
for
So,
sure. I thought
I
we
was
did that
talking
already.
about recreational cannabis. 60, 70% of state voted for it. Not quite sure they thought they were going to sign up for all the fine print. And our police department has already issued some orders to their police department as to the men and women of our Belleville Police Department, how they should interact when they do come across somebody using cannabis. And I know our courts is already starting to release cases with regard to people that were going to be coming before them with regard to just cannabis related offenses. And that was kind of really all I wanted to say on this.
Yeah, but in that recreational cannabis is also some stuff about underage drinking, which they kind of condone, which I was kind of disappointed in that, as well as the ability to go after our police department, which I find unconscionable.
Absolutely.
Unconscionable.
That was, as I said, and I think
Fine
you'll
print.
agree there. I think you'll agree, Councilman. I think 60% of the people want it recreational. I do not think they necessarily wanted the fine print that ended up in that bill.
Agreed.
It sounds to me like the governor's already regretting that, and maybe they're going to be changing that. But it's a shame. I agree. It's an absolute shame that our police department would be criminally liable if they interjected or got involved in anything that was cannabis related. Terrible, unconscionable.
Where's Mad when
Okay.
you need him?
They're gonna change
That's it.
the parental notification for sure.
That's
Yeah, I think they are. All right, so that was all. I didn't want to spend too much time on that list. Anybody else wants anything to say? Going once, going twice? Okay. Next item. Manager Iacono, we're just, as I've now stated, once in executive and once here in public. the best of our knowledge as a member of the budget committee, and if somebody that sat with the manager and the CFO and sat with different department heads, the township, because of revenue that has been off since 2020 for COVID, I have been sounding the alarm since August.
Frozen.
I'm frozen.
Gone again.
I'm back.
You're back.
Your internet connection is unstable, is what it says. So can everybody hear me now? Let me get some nods. All of you are frozen now because, interesting. Can everybody hear me now?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Yeah? Everybody else seems
Yeah.
frozen to me.
Yes.
Okay. I'll keep talking then. So I've been sounding the alarm probably since August of last year when I wrote the manager asking him for to really hold a fine line to the 2021 budget. The manager did reply with a memo of things he was going to look for in the 2021 budget cost savings wise. So I just, knowing that we're March 9th and our budget is due in about 3 weeks, I'm just curious as to where we stand with some of those budget related issues that were in his memo of a few months back.
I think the easiest thing to do to address that question is just to give you the update of where we are with the budget, I think. Unless you
No,
want,
that's not really what I want. You could do that in your manager's report. I'm curious about the individual items that we were going to look at. We could just do a yes or no. How about that?
yeah,
So
that would be great. That would be wonderful.
All right. Review table of organizations for all departments. I know the council has discussed potentially doing that, but as of this date, we have not done that. Correct?
We definitely have had several meetings, and you include some of them on the review of some table of organizations. Did we have taken any action? No, that would mean a vote by the entire council to take a formal action by ordinance, but we have clearly had meetings to discuss table of organizations. So
No,
that's,
I agree with that. Yeah,
we
we have.
checked that one off the list.
Job title audit for all township positions. I don't think we've done that one, but I'll let you work on that one as we go. Reduce department size where revenues are down. We've actually done that. That very rarely happens, and I know for a fact we've actually done that one. So I'll put a check mark next to that one. Early retirement incentive program. I'll put 10 check marks next to that. That's going to be a huge savings for us this year. I hope it's just not a drop in the bucket, but it's going to be a big savings for that. So I appreciate that. Next
We
one.
stop now because I'm perfect.
What's that?
We just stop now because I'm perfect.
Well, no, we got 2 out of 4, I'd say.
What?
Next,
No, but we got 10 for freaking retirement, man. That makes up for it.
Thank you.
listen, I'm the one selling that. I mean, that's something no council's ever done, no administration's ever done. Huge savings. I'm with you all on that. That's fine. Next one, review health insurance coverage. It was touted as a $1.5 to $2 million savings. Unfortunately, the time for that is going to be during budget negotiations. Even if the township voted to change that, we don't have the authority to do that. So that's going to be something we're going to add to our budget negotiations. Eliminate.
Contract negotiations?
I'm sorry?
Contract negotiations, yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
And just a footnote, because I do want to give Deputy Mayor Graziano and also Councilman Cosarelli a lot of credit. We have met and continue to have very active discussions with our insurance broker. So we're still trying to come up with, even though the timing is wrong, or the timing is not perfect, I want to give those two guys the credit because we just recently had another conference call just last week on that.
All right, good job. The next one is eliminate the insurance opt-out program. It's about $185,000 savings. Again, I'm going to assume that's going to be contract negotiations. So
Yes,
While I
yes, we
appreciate-
did save $75,000 this year on an error that this town manager found.
yes, that's also true. So I appreciate the fact that you put a bunch of things in here that we have absolutely no authority to act on, but we're going to add them to our budget negotiation list. So I thank you with that. The next one is the furlough plan to reduce work week by 2 days. I'm going to assume that you had or have not had conversation with the unions on that.
That would be a yes, sir.
I haven't noticed any furloughs. I'm going to assume, just so members of the public know, an item like that is voluntary. We could ask. If the union says no, we have absolutely no authority to change that. So I just want to always add both sides of the story to that. Layoff plan with demotion. I know we attempted to maybe bring in a law firm to actually write a layoff plan with demotion. I don't think at that time the council was looking very favorable to that. So I'm not going to put that one on your tally, Mr. Manager. That's all on us. Review the car policy allowance. I know we've discussed that in budget meetings. Explore shared service agreements with neighboring municipalities. Are we anywhere with that maybe?
Haven't been able to get off of first base, so that I'll write that down on my list to put a little more attention to.
Well, that actually is your list, Mr. Manager. That's literally the list that you gave us.
No, I'm making a
new
new,
list.
I'm making a list to put some sort of a priority. And
All
again,
right.
if shared services is up there, we'll have to put that on the top since I've accomplished some of those other ones already.
You did, you certainly did. The next item is explore regional services. I'll say that's the same thing as shared services. Explore recreation fees. That's something that this council has discussed time and time again. I'm going to assume that's going to be on us, members of the governing body, if we want to move forward on that. That's got really very little to do with Mr. Iacono, but we appreciate the suggestion. Sell municipal properties. We understand those are a one-time hit, but in a $5 to $6 million budget crisis that we're in, every little bit helps. Have we identified any properties that we could potentially sell off?
Yes, Steve and I and Kevin Esposito have identified two. They're not big pieces, but again, every dollar counts in a tight budget. And we will be, I think, and Steve certainly, Martino can correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll be coming to get authorization from the council for appraisals on these two properties. And again, they're small parcels, but we're out there constantly. If there's any other town property that we could sell off, we'd be more than happy. But we did identify two, and every penny counts.
So I agree with you. I'm glad we identified two. We did this memo in like October, though. We are 3 months away from needing a budget, 3 weeks away from needing a budget. I'm not quite sure we have anywhere near the amount of time to actually get that done. The last one is exploring renting recreation facilities. That's the last one. Again, another good suggestion, but we need to execute it. I know somebody that's in another municipality that works for like a private football team, like the American football, and they get an $18,000-$20,000 a year bill because they got to pay for lighting and they got to pay for rentals, and they do fundraising to do that. I know I've talked to the deputy mayor about this, but that's got to be something that we have to explore when lights cost a lot of money. And now our stadium facility, thanks to an upgrade that we're investing in, is going to have a lot more lights on it. And if we're going to let outside or private organizations utilize our facilities, they should be paying at least a nominal fee for that facility, which should also include the lights are a lot of money. I'm not quite sure we keep footing the bill on this, but that's something that we need to look at. Any members of the council have anything to add to that? No? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none. The last item, no, I got one more. This one should be quick. So discussion of in-person council meetings. We have finally entered the yellow space when it comes to Essex COVID. Belleville throughout the last year have probably led the county in percentages of COVID-related illnesses. And we had been orange when other municipalities like Irvington and Newark have been yellow, and it just was bad for us. We have a communication on tonight's agenda from our health officer to keep us in remote meetings. I will say that at last check, I know somebody's going to vet this, but at last check, 21 of 22 municipalities in Essex County, we're still going remote. Municipals, we're still going remote. We usually, just so the public knows, we usually issue a notice, a resolution in January for the entire year's worth of meetings. This governing body could have done that. We could have went for the next 12 months remote. Instead, we opted to just do quarterly. That first quarter is now over. We're about to notice for the next quarter. We do have an opinion from our health officer to keep going remote for at least the next quarter, but that decision is ours. I've always said that I'd much rather be in person. I don't have to deal with connection issues with the internet. I don't have to deal with working 4 different devices in front of me. So members of the governing body, this is obviously our vote. There is a resolution on tonight's agenda to allow the clerk to notice the next quarter's meetings as remote. We can change that. In a month from now, we can ask her to pay a couple bucks and change the notice and go in person. But just curious as to where the governing body stands. For some reason, I'm the one that gets the blame for everything. Everything that we do and this governing body does is me for some reason. I'm on the record, what I want to do and where I'd like to be. So I'd like to just hear some other council members and see what they think. So I'm not the only one that is kind of targeted with the fact that we're keeping these all remote. So any member of the governing body want to give their opinion, their advice, anything?
I'm good with staying remote. I know the federal government's talking about not going back to work until like sometime in September.
Okay, that's one. Anybody else?
No, I agree. What's the, what did you say was for the next quarter? So for the second quarter of 2021?
And we could change it. A month from now, if somebody flips a switch and COVID is cured and the world is open again, we can just renotice in a month and immediately go to in person. But for right now, there's a resolution on tonight's agenda for the next quarter to keep going remote. Anybody else?
Yeah, let her go remote for the next quarter. And as you said, we could always change it.
Right. Okay, again, everybody, I saw a comment somewhere here that we are still in our council caucus. Anything that you want to add, you could certainly add during the public portion meeting coming up hopefully shortly. Any other council member before I move on? Alrighty, we're going to move on then. Last item, I knew that March 5th or March 6th was the state's deadline for the 2020 financial statement. So, and I was told that we actually got it done a week or two early. And we had to submit that financial statement to the state so that we can get the revenue into the budget. We basically have all the asks for the departments. That's the expense side. The revenue side, we needed to balance the books from 2020, and then we know what kind of revenue in 2020 we're working with. It's not good, people. I've been sounding the alarm since August of last year that we are in dire needs and dire problems and drastic issues with this year's budget. I've been saying that since August of last year when I wrote the letter to the manager. So our revenues are off this year, yet in government, our expenses go up every year. Who makes up that difference? Taxpayers. There's no other way to do that. Taxpayers or new ratables. This governing body has been working hard on new ratables, but it's not enough, and we're not realizing those ratables right now. So I know the budget summary was done. I was told it was done 2 weeks early. It was due on March 6th to the state. That allows us to strike our budget for the deadline, which is the end of March. I've been saying since mid last year, I want a budget on time. I am not interested in voting for a temporary emergency budget. So as of the first meeting in April, I am not supporting a temporary emergency budget, because what happens traditionally, and there's a lot of people on the Zoom that know this, we don't hit a budget until September or October. 3/4 of the budget are done. You can then vote no on it. Doesn't matter. You've already spent 3/4 of your budget. I've been saying since last year, we have a full-time CFO, full-time manager. I want a budget on time, and I'm not really interested in a temporary emergency budget come the first meeting in August. So with that being said, Mr. Manager, do we have an update on the financial statement?
The financial, and I know Kim's on the phone with us, but the financial statement was submitted to DCA. If there was any comments or any feedback, it would go to Joe Falcone. I did speak to him several times. He didn't say anything. So I'm assuming we're good with that. Joe and Kim have a meeting on Monday, and then hopefully by Wednesday, there'll be another possible updated budget committee with a budget meeting with the budget committee.
Are you at liberty to say just how bad our revenue was last year? How many millions of dollars we were off?
I'd have to go back and I'd only be guessing at that number, because right now we're working on, we're waiting for, actually the state is going to direct communities on the formula for the revenue. And DCA has not released that. So we're still waiting. It looks like they are going to omit 20, but we're just waiting on we're waiting for that to get in writing. So
I've said it, I've been on the record before, I'm not interested in omitting 20 because we're already 3 months into 2021 and really nothing has changed revenue wise. If we go back to 2019 revenue and expect that, we're going to be 4 to 5 months in before we strike a budget, and that revenue is fake. It's just not real revenue. By the end of the year, we're going to be in trouble again. It's Belleville's going to fix these problems. And if we are, just so the members of the general public know, if we are $5-6 million off, which is the number I heard in our budget committee, that's how much money is going to have to be made up by the taxpayers. So it's not looking good, everybody. And I've been saying this since August of last year. That's why I was kind of adamant on some of these cuts that I wanted. And so you don't have this, is our CFO here? Do we have a number? Like we must know the number, what our revenue was last year.
I could look it up between, if you want, I can come back to you towards the end of the meeting and tell you what we collected in revenue versus,
That's kind of what I thought we were gonna get now during this conversation. No?
Kim, I know you're on the phone with us. Kim is our CFO. I don't know if you're able to answer that question, and if not, we certainly can get the answer. But again, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and I think after Kim meets with Joe on Monday, we'll actually be in a real position to discuss that with the committee.
Okay. That is it. The next item on our caucus, and again, any member of the governing body can put anything they want on this caucus. It's just a time to discuss different topics. Next item on our agenda, I see her going in and out, Councilwoman DePena. She has local small business supportive services. Are you with us, Councilwoman? She's also going in and out today. I'm not quite sure what's, and she's a remote location. Is she back in? No. That was her topic, and wait, I'm told she's going back in. Connecting. Do we have a Councilwoman DePena? If she could hear me. There we
I
go.
apologize. It's been in and out all night. It's been crazy. I apologize for the connection issues, but I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I know the meeting has been long. But I did want to bring to my council colleagues to your attention just my concern for the lack of support that we from the council provide to the local businesses. And I know that on a personal level, we might provide support or we might support local, but I would love for us the opportunity to explore how we can support the businesses in a more intentional way. And many of you know that I'm a small business owner, and I am currently going through the process of opening a business in Belleville. So that has given me some insight as to areas in need of improvement. I am a strong, firm believer that change doesn't happen overnight, and I don't intend for 100% improvement overnight, but I have identified some areas where I do believe we can do better and that we should do better. Beginning with just a process to open a business in Belleville. It just seems there is no place where someone who wants to open a business here in Belleville and wants to know what's the first step. Can we potentially explore the opportunity of something where someone can come, maybe whether it is on our website, whether it is someone in town hall, this is what you do and this is where you begin. And also then the process in terms of all the departments that you're dealing with and that you're working with. And I know that I hate to think that I am dreaming or that I'm thinking too much, but I truly, this is really about thinking of the public as customer service and, just exploring ways in which we can improve our customer service. Can we consider our constituents from that perspective and just really give everyone a much more clear direction, clear experience. And specifically, and I'm not calling to specific departments in any way, but when someone comes in to apply for a permit and our mindset is so clearly about how much time do I have before I can fulfill that, specifically 21 days, that shouldn't be our goal. I do believe that our goal should be, well, how fast can we get those small businesses here? And how can we improve the process of how we go through paperwork? Because if after 21 days, we find out there was information missing, then we have to go back to the beginning. And now this brand new business is not going to open here in Belleville. And as we heard, Mayor, we want more businesses here. We want more revenue. We want more people to invest in Belleville. So among many things, those are my concerns. And I guess what I'm proposing is that we begin the conversation as to how can we revise all the way from our forms. I mean, many forms that don't even have the township logo, that there's just been copied over and over. It just doesn't, it doesn't have the best, it doesn't look great. So I do believe that I would be willing to lead some type of conversation in that direction. And how can we explore better services for small businesses, and exploring all of the departments that have direct contact with small businesses and new businesses in town in order to make that process a little bit easier. So those were my concerns.
Thank you. I think they're valid concerns. I think you are the chairwoman of the Small Business Support Services. The members of the governing, members of the public should know that there's three, quick count, there's three council members that have small businesses and that are small business owners. And we acknowledge that process. We actually, Councilwoman, if you remember, maybe 2 years ago, we floated the idea of maybe exploring some of these workflows, and it was not received well by the council as a whole at that time. And I'm hoping that now we can re-engage that conversation to, at that time too, about a year ago to the date, we saw that we had some conversations with some different departments. And to your exact point, we were promised that a lot of the forms would be rewritten, a lot of forms were redone, especially during COVID. We had employees that were not necessarily in the office that could easily take 15, 20 minutes to retype a form. And we were promised a year ago that was going to happen. I guess we'll have to have the manager follow up and see where we are in that process.
Yeah. Or even just to consider the possibility of making them digital, and that way people have more access to it. It's just really, I think it would make it so much easier. It makes it more accessible. But I will definitely put it in, hopefully for the next caucus, so we can continue the conversation in terms of what would be the best way. Do we want to begin a Chamber of Commerce through the township, or maybe, just a council liaison in terms of developing that. But I do want to mention one thing before. This isn't my first time opening a business, and that's why for me it was a bit disappointing to see that where I've had the most challenge, and not that I, in any way, just I'm looking at it, how comparing what other towns do, what do they do right, and how can we bring that in so that we make it more efficiently and we're more welcoming to small businesses.
I'm definitely open to that. Any other council members have anything to add before we move on? Okay, we are 2 hours into our meeting and we're just getting to the report of the manager. Mr. Manager, you're up.
All right, well, good evening again to everyone. So we start off with a little COVID update. Obviously, the process for vaccines are getting a little better. There's still a process that we have to go through, and that's seems like everybody's major concern. I know the mayor is going to report a little bit more on the distribution of vaccines, but what we're doing, obviously, to assist people who are not able to get the vaccine just yet, is that we're still providing the testing, and we do the COVID testing as well as we're doing the antibody testing. We, since the schools are back open, we moved the location over to the senior building. We were going to do every other Friday, but quite frankly, we're doing over 120 COVID tests a week now. And the antibody test that we did on Friday was, we had over 60 people. So this is obviously not as good as getting the vaccine, because we realize that is the priority right now. But if we can supplement some services to help, certainly people testing for the antibody or continue testing to make sure that they're not walking around asymptomatic. So again, it's not the cure-all, because that would be the vaccination, but we're doing our part with the COVID testing and the antibody testing. Hopefully we're done with snow for the year. We started what we'd like to think is a spring cleanup. You'll see more crews on Washington Avenue on Saturdays, and we're going to try for some Sundays again. It's tough working with a very, very tight budget to add services. So we're still trying to do that. But spring cleaning has started. We ask residents to be patient. Call the Public Works Department and certainly report the potholes. But this last winter, this last snow season has really paid a toll on our roads. We have a very, very long list of potholes. We're going to try to do our best to get to all of them as far as patching and repaving, but it is going to take some time. So if there is a pothole on your street, call down to Public Works and we'll put it on our list. And again, we're going to try to get to that list as best as possible, but that's one of our priorities. Today we have our DPW, Bobby and the group did a great job on working on the fields at school number 7. So again, all taking advantage of this type of good weather. So we're pretty excited about that. We're hoping to have our sweeper schedule back in place in April. You will see it around town moving because if it is a nice day, we will take it out and do as much as we can. Obviously, we're not issuing any violations, but certainly we take the sweeper out early in the morning. We do Washington and some of the mains before the traffic begins. And we'll certainly give everybody proper notice for the street sweeping schedule, which will probably start first week of April based on the weather that we're receiving. Councilman Cosarelli, it's not, I don't think it's too early to report that we met with the county today. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can report it, since you just did. So, so go for it. We just don't have the date yet, so. go
I
ahead.
know we are tentatively shooting for Thursday, April 8th. Thursday, April 8th, Essex County food drive. Again, location to be determined. It probably is going to be up at the high school, but I've actually seen this this food distribution at some other sites in Essex County. They get a very big turnout, and if there's and certainly as much as we're required to open it up to anybody that lives in Essex County, we will get early advance notice to get our residents more notice than the normal person. So that would be a good thing. And we're going to, as soon as we confirm up the date, Councilman Cosarelli, myself, met with the county today, and we think we have the location, we think we have the date, and stay tuned. So that's pretty, again, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So anything we could do to help, we will. And the last thing that I'm going to end my report, and it's a little strange, but I might as well report it because I'm still trying to figure this out. There has been a spike on thefts on catalyst converters. When it was first reported to me, I thought somebody made a mistake, and it can't be. Unfortunately, somebody went into our public works garage last night, and we can't fit all of our trucks in the garage, so a couple of them have to stay in the yard. And unfortunately, we lost 2 catalyst converters on 2 of our trucks. We woke up to that this morning to find out that somebody went underneath the car. And how they get your catalyst converter is they don't open up the hood. So if a police officer was driving by, he'd see somebody underneath the hood doing something suspicious. They actually crawl underneath the car, and it's just, from the way it was explained to me, it's too
Cut it out. They just cut that baby out.
yep. And there's a market somewhere between $250 and $500 for a used catalyst converter. I guess a new one is over $1,000.
Well, and
And
there's platinum and palladium in them.
yeah.
those
So
are
I
both
mean,
very
again,
precious
I report it because if you see any suspicious activity and people underneath cars, I mean, report it. It's just crazy, but we have a spike in our. It's going to probably show up in the police report next year. Spike in catalyst converters.
catalytic converter stealing.
Catalytic converters.
So and that it would be my manager's report for March 9th, 2021.
Well
Through the
done.
chair, could I ask the manager a question?
Absolutely.
So, Anthony, I know we've been working on the stadium stuff. I just wonder what the status was on the contract and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we were very, very hopeful, and we were trying our best to be able to put the stadium project, Green Acres project, on the agenda tonight for an award. We are so close, and we started some conversations, preliminary conversations with Dr. Tomko, because we have enough money to award the contract that came in on the base bid. There's a shortfall on new LED lighting, and we just started preliminary conversations with Dr. Tomko, who will have to go back, discuss it with the BOE, and I'm sure we can have this all resolved within the next 2 weeks, so we can award at the next meeting, because again, we want to take advantage of the weather that we're having, so that after we award, we'll have a pre-construction meeting and we'll have shovels in the ground. So I would anticipate us awarding the Green Acres Stadium project at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, you're good. So next item on our agenda is going to be the report of the mayor. A few of these items I've already talked about, either during the caucus meeting or in some of my other conversations. I'm going to breeze right through them. But the first thing I want to do is just give a quick budget update. As I've mentioned already, we are looking at a drastic budget shortfall. Back in August, I did ask the manager for some different recommendations. We've already covered some of those recommendations today. Sometimes they're just small little things, but they do add up. And we're hoping that they're going to add up to really, really make a difference for us today. I'm not sitting back doing anything, just so if anybody was thinking about that. I've been very active in the past week. Last week, I was very busy indeed. I actually wrote a letter to our congressman. I've since had a conversation with Congressman Series, person to person, I should say. And then since then, I've gone back and forth with some of his staff members with regard to any federal funding or federal stimulus that Belleville would be open to receive. I keep being told, and we've been hearing different things about stimulus packages being passed. While certain things have passed Congress and certain things have passed the Senate, we still have no idea what kind of federal money we're going to get. So we can't count on that. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. I've also scheduled a Zoom meeting for this week with our L29 legislative team. Senator Ruiz and our 2 assembly people will be on a call, and they have rank. So our senator is a high-ranking senator. One of our assembly women is the chair of the budget committee. And if Belleville can get some additional assistance, because we were among the worst hit in Essex County when it came to COVID, and that really suffered our revenues, we're going to ask those questions. So just last week, I've reached out to Congressman Series' office, and I have a Zoom schedule set up with our entire L29 legislative team. Going right into a COVID update, we are finally back in the yellow. For a long, long time, we're in the orange, the only municipality in Essex that was in the orange. We are finally in the yellow. We've been in the yellow before, and we've ticked back up into the orange. So we're hoping we can just finally stay in the yellow. Last week, as I said, I was very busy. Not only did I speak to our congressman's office and our entire L29 team, I wrote an email to the county executive and his chief of staff, and that email was an urgent plea. It was an urgent plea for help. Every single Tuesday morning, I sit on a Essex County mayor's call, and I hear and I listen to what's happening and what help and assistance other communities are receiving. And I basically finally raised my hand and said, listen, Belleville was among the worst hit here. We need some additional support and some additional love from the county. And I'm grateful to admit, I'm happy to admit that the county did agree and step up. First of all, the Essex County COVID rollout, whether it was originally testing and now vaccines, is probably the standard in the state. I think they've done a fantastic job, but I still said that I'm going to represent Belleville and I'm going to ask, and we have asked. So now we've gotten some additional, I'll call it tutoring, on the EssexCovid19.org website. And now anybody that needs a vaccine that can't get an appointment on that website, you can either call our health department or you call the mayor's office. We have somebody there that can assist in getting you into that system. We have a little better information and not a back door, but we have a way to do it. And we've been having some really, really good success doing that. I also said that our seniors need additional support. The county has agreed. The county will be sending buses here to pick up seniors that can't necessarily get to a vaccination center. You can call the health department or the mayor's office, and we will get those seniors on a list. We've already done like 40 or 50 or 60 just in the last week or so. It's been really fantastic. The county is going to include us in a senior homebound service. So if you're a homebound senior, eventually the county will send a doctor or a physician assistant directly to your house. Again, call the health department, call the mayor's office to get on that list. Lastly, the county is going to give us, Belleville, a pop-up event for vaccinations once they get more vaccinations in. Not every single municipality in the county is going to get that, but Belleville will get that. So going back to normal for a second, the travel sports is on our website. Check our website, check our social media. We are having tryouts. It's all posted on our website, softball, baseball, and soccer. We also had some positive news. If you saw any of my social media postings, if you saw anything, it's nice to see Belleville get good headlines. It's nice to see Belleville get front page coverage here. Bettering Belleville, that's something that if you read the article, this governing body got done. It's been 40 years. I sat here 20 years ago. We thought we were close to getting a deal on that property. It didn't happen. But for 40 years, no governing body in this township has ever gotten close to getting a deal done. This governing body got it done. We utilize the power of pilots, which is always a good thing. I encourage you, positive news stories representing Belleville, just touting some of the accomplishments that I think we collectively has had as a body. You would have seen bike cops out since the weather's getting nice. We'd like seeing that. I get a lot of complaints about litter. We do have the crews walking up and down Washington Avenue when the weather's good. You got to understand it's been snowy. Litter has been trapped in the snow. We haven't been out during the winter doing that, so we're getting to that. So please Just make sure you do that. Mr. Manager, I just want to ask you to make sure that we have all of our departments putting information on the website. I happen to come across the recreational stuff on the recreation social media, was not on the township website, was not on the township social media. I know you made that call and you got that done for us. I'm told that we had a very, very successful, I always lose everything. Oh, here it is. We had a very successful rabies clinic this weekend. I'm told 120 dogs and cats participated. Again, was not on the township website, was not on the township social media. I would love to know exactly how many people we could have serviced if we just told people we were doing the services. Not new items. So these are things that we have to just, Mr. Manager, if you can send a memo out and make sure that we're constantly doing that stuff, that would be great. I'm going to mention the statewide recognition for our green team. We did talk about that a few weeks ago when the press release went out. This Wednesday is going to be an awards virtual thing. I'm going to let Councilman Cosarelli and or Councilman Revelle speak on that during the committee reports if they want to add anything to that. I don't want to step on their toes with that, but great work by everybody with regard to that. Rounding up the end of my mayor's report, I had a very nice meeting with Dr. Tomko. I think it was last week. Just so everybody is aware, every couple of months or so, Dr. Tomko and I just sit down. We chat about a lot of different far-ranging topics. He comes to my office, I go to his office, we alternate, and far-ranging conversations about ESL programs and how the school can assist us and assist not only the students but the parents with regard to that stuff, and maybe even talking about a task force for some education for parents. The school district traditionally does ESL programs for the students of parents. They do it at night. A lot of these parents that need the ESL, they work at night, they need it during the day. So Dr. Tomko's recommendation was maybe we do a little task force between the municipality, maybe even incorporate the library, who's doing some great things with ESL in the district to get that stuff going. Last but not least, speaking about the library this coming Wednesday, something I'm very proud of, the Essex Hudson Greenway presentation will be at the library this Wednesday. I believe it's a Zoom. Go to the library website to register. Those you don't know, 9 miles, if you know the High Line in New York City, well, guess what? 9 municipalities stretching two counties are going to get that. And it comes right through Belleville. Again, game changer for us. Positive things happening here. I encourage you all to join the library presentation on Wednesday. I'm going to not mention much about International Women's Day because our our committee reports are next. I'm going to let Councilwoman DePena maybe say a few words on that. I just want to acknowledge the most important woman in my life, my mom. I think she's here watching today. I wouldn't be here without you, and I thank God for you every single day. Other than that, we are going to committee reports. Does Councilman Cosarelli and or Revelle want to mention anything additional about the Green Team, about the Sustainable Award?
Yeah, Mayor, like you said, we have our awards on Thursday, so hopefully I'll take some screenshots. It is virtual, so we won't actually be there, but I will take some screenshots and let everyone see kind of what's going on that day and report back to you guys. While I'm talking, let me hit a couple other things real quick. The manager mentioned the food drive. We don't have a definite date or time place because we're still waiting on the county to approve it. So I'm not going to go into that as of yet, but we will update you guys as soon as we hear back from them. And finally, we spoke a while back about doing some safe exchange place signs for town hall. So the signs are in. Our police chief and traffic department kind of designed them and had them made. So they came in today. They'll be put up, I believe, this week. It'll be right outside the police headquarters door on the side of the building. When they're up, I will take a picture and post it so everyone knows where they are. And again, those were for if you're happen to be selling something online and you want a safe place to exchange money, you could do it there. If you're picking up your children from, your divorced husband and you want a safe place to do it, you could do it there. Yada, yada. There's a lot of stuff that it could be useful for that's under police surveillance. So that's what we have, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Even in accordance with that, I know that we were talking about possibly doing an Earth Day this year and in April sometime. I mean, are we still considering that?
Yeah, I mean, Earth Day is every year, yeah, no, totally. We're actually doing March 20th. We're going to be doing a little project for our community garden up at Fairway Park. Scouts, the Boy Scouts are going to be helping us, thanks to Gabby Bennett. The Scouts are going to be helping us put together some planters and getting them filled up, along with the green team and whoever else wants to come by and volunteer. Yes, we do have Earth Day. Let me see. Earth Day, April 22nd, Camp Carragher. We're going to do little projects up there. Also, we had to cancel it, unfortunately, last year, but we are going to try to do our walk to work or walk at work day, which is April 7th. That's coming up. And what else we got? Walk in the Park Day, March 31st. So March 31st, if you're around to take a walk in the park, go take a walk in the park.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Vin.
I know Councilwoman DePena has herself a International Women's Day month event.
Yes, sir. Thank
Opportunity.
you, Mayor. I don't know where you were going with it.
Event.
Yeah, so we did not want to, last year was a lot of things were canceled. So this year we definitely wanted to acknowledge all the awesome women who make Belleville what it is, whether they are residents in town or people who might work here in town, and they just do amazing things for the community. So this initiative, it's, we're asking the residents to just nominate women who are inspiring for whatever array of reasons, whether because they're making an impact in the community, because they're excelling, they are breaking boundaries, and they just really, so we're taking nominations until March 16th. So all the information is on the on the Township website, also on all of our social media. So nominations will be submitted until the 16th through email. The email is posted, and then we'll be recognizing all of those nominees on our next council meeting on March 23rd. So I have to say, though, I've received a few, and I've been like in tears already looking at just amazing things that women are doing. So women are awesome. Happy International Women's Day. It just happened yesterday, but just Women History Month, because truly women are resilient, and we definitely want you to share those stories with us so we can honor those awesome residents. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the lead on that. I did see some people posting on social media as I shared it. They're tagging women. I think that's a great thing to tag women, but you do have to get yourself to the Township website or look at the flyer. You do have to send Councilor DePena an email with some specific information. I don't want anybody to be disappointed they weren't recognized because they tagged somebody. It's great recognition to be tagged, but we do need you to email the councilman. So before we conclude committee reports, does any other council member that's involved in whatever initiative that they are involved in want to take a minute or so? I know we covered a lot of ground so far today. All right. Hearing none, we are going to, did I hear somebody? No. Okay. So hearing none, we are going to go to the approval of minutes.
And combined conference and regular meeting of October 13th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next up, communications.
A letter received from Vincent D. Filippo, Health Officer for the Township of Belleville, stating the mayor and municipal council should continue to hold virtual meetings due to the number of positive cases in the Township of Belleville that continue to rise. And B, letter received from Rose Tobito Esquire, Planning Board Attorney for the Township of Belleville, recommending the mayor and municipal council should consider ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 23 zoning in the Township of Belleville in the County of Essex, New Jersey, and that it is consistent with the master plan.
Sounds good to me. So again, I know the council already had a conversation with regard to the in-person meetings. We have a resolution that's on that agenda today. But listen, the world is not back. I'm here today. I've never missed a council meeting since mayor. If there was one I could have missed, it would have been today. Today is my niece, Ashley. It's her first ever college soccer game. Soccer is an outdoor sport. Guess what? No spectators allowed. She plays for Caldwell. No spectators allowed at an outdoor sporting event. So as much as we like to think that we're heading in the right direction, we're still not ready yet. This is kind of what everybody seems to be thinking. So next item we have on the agenda is ordinances.
Ordinance number 1 for introduction, ordinance amending Chapter 23, zoning in the Township of Belleville in the County of Essex, New Jersey.
Can we get a motion?
So
Somebody?
motion?
Heard a
Second
motion?
it.
I
Second
heard
it.
motion made and second. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli,
Yes.
DePena,
Yes.
Graziano,
Yes.
Natari,
Yes.
Rovell,
I'm abstaining. I got it very late today and didn't get a chance to read it.
Strumelob Burke,
Abstain.
Mayor Melham.
Yes. Next up, we have ordinances for public hearing, second and final reading.
Ordinance number 1 for public hearing and ordinance amending chapter 21, property maintenance code of the codified ordinances of the Township of Belleville.
Make a motion to open public?
Second.
We have a motion made and second to open public comment on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we are now opening up public commenting on just this particular ordinance. So I'm going to be very consistent like I always try to be. The first thing I'm going to do is ask the clerk if anybody emailed in any specific questions pertaining to just this ordinance.
Yes, I received a email from Mr. Mario Draz, 95 Bell Street, and he states ordinance number 1, please explain.
Okay, and was that ordinance for introduction or ordinance for second and final reading?
I'm assuming it's second and final reading.
So if it's second and final reading, I think Mr. Martino can help me if I get it wrong. But I recently, over the last few months or so, have had some what we call neighborhood issues. And one of the things that you see is some of these storefronts have huge, huge windows and they just pile all kinds of debris and storage and it absolutely looks awful. I've had with the manager and through the manager, we've had some conversations with the construction code official. And he was honest and said there's nothing on our books that we could do anything about that. And so without anything being on the books, we have to put something on the books in order to do something with. The nice thing about our esteemed township attorney, Mr. Martino, is that he also represents Bloomfield, and Bloomfield actually had an ordinance on point to handle clutter in windows and businesses and that. So Mr. Martino put it on for first reading, and now we're here for second reading. So basically it allows the construction code department and their inspectors to go out and start a conversation with some of these businesses that just have absolutely cardboard boxes and storage and everything that just looks terrible in the windows. We never had an ordinance or a violation or something that we can fine them with. And now basically, if this gets approved tonight, we can. Did I get that right, Mr. Martino?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We also, as we have tried to do throughout this council's administration, try to update some of the ordinances. And the prior ordinance listed the property maintenance code, the 2009 property maintenance code is what we had in there. Property maintenance code, spoke to Mr. DiLorenzo, although he said it doesn't change very much, it still said 2009. There's been 4 or 5 versions after that. It gets updated every 3 years. So we changed it just to have use the current property maintenance code. So took out a year and just put whatever the current property maintenance code is, that will be what we use for our property maintenance code.
Sounds good to me. That was the only comment that was emailed in. So at this point now, I'm going to see if anybody that's on video has any particular question. If you're on video only, if you could just raise your hand. I see Miss Fleischman is there. Miss Fleischman, just please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Carmela Fleischman, 833 Main Street. Is this for active businesses only, or the businesses that have unfortunately had to close, through either retirement, COVID or anything like that? Is this just active businesses that they're going after?
Well, we're not really going
after, I should say.
It doesn't really dictate whether they're active or not. If it's a storefront and if it has large windows, we're gonna make sure that they understand that we need them to keep it clean. It's also, it's also, we have a very similar ordinance on the books, just so you know. We have an ordinance about signs where you shouldn't have more than 50% of your window covered by signs, and there's a reason for that. If there's ever a 911 call or a panic button hit and our police officers enter that building, they want to be able to see inside, so they know.
Yeah, no, of course.
So there's also very practical reasons for that as well.
Okay.
Anybody else that's on video, just show me your hand again. It's just this particular ordinance on video. I don't see any other hands being raised of anybody else. So anybody who's not on video, but just on audio, as we get through our final rung here, just unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. I didn't expect to have many comments on this, so I think we're good to go. I'm going to ask for a motion to close public commenting.
Motion to close public and move for final adoption.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion made and second to close public hearing and move for final adoption. Clerk, call the roll. You're muted, Kelly.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
She may have vanished again.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Rovell?
Yes.
Strumelob Burke?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. All righty. Next item on our agenda is public comments. I need a motion to open for public comments.
Motion to move for open public.
We have a
Second.
motion made. I need a second on that.
Second.
I have a motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We've now opened up for public comments. Before I open the floor, we're going to, again, keep the same exact order. I will read a resolution that was passed by this governing body about 2 years ago. It just dictates how we do this. There's a lot of new people on the call. I just want to make sure everybody understands that there is an order to how we do this. And our resolution does state that upon recognition by the chair, which in this case is the mayor, speaker shall state their name and address for the record. All are expected to engage in respectful and orderly discourse. Persons entering into personal, impertinent or slanderous discourse, or persons who become boisterous or unruly during public comment shall, at the discretion of the chair or at the objection of any member of the council, forfeit the remaining time, the mayor and council. And if that continues, I do have the right to have you removed from the meeting. If you are removed from the meeting, you will not be allowed back in. So with that being said, we're going to keep the same exact order. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody that wrote in comments?
Yes, I have one from Mario Draws, 95 Bell Street. He states, resolution number 6, where is the agenda list online for the public to view prior to the meeting? Year after year, I and others have been asking for the full agenda to be posted for public view. Still nothing. You are just plain spiteful towards certain members of the public. In the letter from the health officer, is there a reason why he feels it is not safe not to have live town meetings at the high school? Why does he think it is safe only for Board of Ed meetings or weddings at Town Hall? I see at the last meeting that a resolution for a public relations firm was taken off the table and approved. Very sneaky of you to vote for it when 2 council members were not present. Have you ever received any campaign contribution form from that firm? I see there are more developments being initiated in town. We have now over 1,000 tax break rental units. I noticed that none of the projects are condos or townhouse units. Why were they not included in the master plan? And in the past, you made reference to Jersey City and all the pilots they've given. From what I understand, they are now shying away from the 30-year pilot breaks. I have seen new condos being developed. There were only 5-year tax breaks. 5 is a lot better than 25 to 30-year tax breaks. Who is the person or persons that recommends that you have to give a 25 to 30-year tax break? I was told that if you designate an area in need of redevelopment, you can give 25 to 30-year tax breaks. But in an area in need of rehabilitation, it is only 5 years. It looks like to me it may be selective development. My understanding is that for the first 7 years of pilot, it is a break even for the developers. The rest of the term is profit. Where are the tax breaks for seniors on a fixed income? I see, in my opinion, bias in selective development here. All I hear from you is millennials want small apartments. How about home ownership? Why don't we just put this on the ballot for the people to decide if they want this type of development? You made reference to the warehouse project at the former Walter Kittis property. No one did anything in the past 40 years. Were you not in office 20 years ago? I said it before, 5-year pilots is all anyone should be getting. Please come back to earth. Belleville means beautiful village, not city.
Okay, I'm going to take it from the bottom up. So the last portion of that really just revolved around pirates. I've talked exclusively about pilots and how beneficial they are to the township and how they clean up contaminated property and how they get vacant property paying no taxes on the books, which actually does offset the property taxes for everybody else. You mentioned incorrectly that I've said nobody did anything for 40 years. I've been adamant that for 40 years, different administrations have tried. I actually said that earlier in the meeting, and I've actually been quoted that in the newspaper at this point. So we have all tried. I was here 20 years ago. I tried, but this council got it done. Where are the tax breaks for seniors on a fixed income? I'll tell you where those tax breaks are. Those tax breaks come when the township makes more revenue. And when we take contaminated property and offer a developer a pilot for that, we get a revenue share on that. So a contaminated piece of property that pays no property taxes or very little property tax, now we get a revenue share on that. We get a windfall of revenue on a former contaminated piece of property. And that's actually the tax break for the seniors because that money comes into the general fund and hopefully we could offset their taxes when it comes to that. So you talk about 5-year tax breaks and you talk about 25-year tax breaks. Yep, you're absolutely right on that. And let me just say, Mario, you've been around for a long time. And I said this once before. I just want to set everybody straight here. Mr. Droz, you have, in my opinion, absolutely no credibility when it comes to talking about developments in this township. For those of you who don't know, I happen to have a copy of it right here. There was a book that came out a little while ago. See that book right there? It's a real thick book. It's called The Jersey Sting. And for those of you who don't know this, Mr. Droz played a nice part in this book because this was probably one of the biggest political corruption rings that ever happened in the state of New Jersey. So much so, they wrote a book about it. There it is. And if you look at this book, the reason why I say that Mr. Droz has absolutely no credibility in this matter is the fact that the FBI literally called Mr. Droz a disappointment. It said that this is page 171, by the way, one particular swing and miss, disappointing to Dweck. Dweck was an FBI informant that actually was wearing a wire that would go into town halls and try and set up mayors, basically. And Mr. Droz was working with him. And when it says that one particular swing and miss, disappointing to Dweck's FBI handlers, was Mario Droz. The FBI called him a swing and miss. The former mayor, Mario Droz is mayor. You should know a lot about this stuff. The former mayor and councilman in Belleville, a blue-collar town in Essex County, New York border, wanted to get Dweck in with the elected officials. Surveillance tapes show this, but Droz just couldn't get them on the same page after a badly botched meeting in town hall. Droz's operation was outside what become Dweck's core area. They go on to say, Droz was advertised. This is Mario Droz. Mario Droz was advertising that he could help Dweck get quick and easy construction approvals from the mayor. So this is why I say that Mr. Droz has absolutely no credibility when it comes to redevelopment. I think the township is far better off doing redevelopment without Mario Droz, either as mayor or bringing in people to try and set up or promising that he can get easy contracts or easy approvals through the township. Everything else, I think we kind of mentioned. Public relations. Public relations does very good. Let me tell you something. I love seeing the front page of the paper where it says, bettering Belleville. I love seeing positive things in Belleville. I think that a $72 million corporation like we are deserves to have some good positive press because this governing body for the last 3 years has done a lot of good things. And it's very nice that we're getting credit. People actually like Mr. Droz. People actually like reading positive things. There's a few people out there that dwell on the negative and try and hash up all kinds of negative garbage, but there's a heck of a lot of people out there that like the positive that's happening. Have you ever gotten a campaign contribution? I don't believe I have a reportable contribution from Jaffe. I've known Jaffe a long time, worked with them in other towns. I don't think I've ever gotten a reportable contribution from them. I think that's kind of it on this one. So that's all we have as far as written comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, so we're gonna now go through people on video. If you are on video and I see Miss Carmela Fleischman, you're up.
Oh, hi again, Carmela Fleischman, 33. Okay, a couple of things. First of all, last couple of meetings, I've asked to have it looked into about the light on the corner of Droleman and Union. I was wondering if we had any updates on that. I know a couple meetings ago that I know you guys were going to be reaching out to the county executive about the trash cleanup on Main Street 21 area because it got obviously, since that's a county property, you guys can't do that. And just this whole thing about the public meetings. Okay, now I understand, talk to ad nauseum, okay, and I understand why you're thinking or you're following the guidelines of the health official. Okay, I wanted to know what his view was on fully vaccinated people because the CDC just put out that now fully vaccinated people can now come inside without masks and still probably a small version of them. And again, I understand why you do what you do because again, everyone's trying to keep everyone healthy. Great. Okay. But doing the Zoom and doing in person can work. Yes, you've said it in the past, you definitely get more people on Zoom because it's much easier for people to click on to a Zoom meeting sometimes. But for those people who don't have computer access, do have a problem getting connections. I mean, you guys had it tonight. Simple like people were popping on and off because of bad connections. I think the happy medium would be if those people who were fully vaccinated in about 3 weeks, I'll be fully vaccinated, yay. Okay, people like me can come to the public meetings, wearing the mask, doing the temperature checks and things like that. I don't really mean to sound rude on this one. I just don't want to hear in the next quarter or in another 3 months, I don't want to hear what I feel is an excuse by this governing body to not let people back in meetings. And I know you've been adamant and saying you want people in, but it's like getting a backhanded compliment. You want people in, but. So, and without giving you a heart attack, Mr. Mayor, I actually agree with you with this whole, new computer system. If the computer system and the town sites are working, don't spend the money. My biggest thing is, and this is a very short story, with computer systems. I had a medical billing. I worked for 2 different doctors at 2 different times. We had a medical billing. We changed it. I couldn't get into the old billing. I couldn't go back into the old system. My biggest fear is that a company will come in and say, oh, great, here you go. And then you won't be able to get into your old records, in my opinion. So like I said, don't mean to give you a heart attack with me agreeing with you. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, a few things. So again, we've talked about the meetings. That's why I wanted everybody to hear the council speak on this. So I know Councilman Ravel's not necessarily comfortable coming into public meetings. I don't necessarily think, I don't want to speak for her, but I don't think Councilwoman Burke is comfortable coming into live meetings yet. We're willing to just do the next quarter and see where that goes. And let me just, and not you, Carmela, I'm not meaning to say you, but I would venture to guess that if Michael Melham was pushing for in-person meetings and I was forcing everybody to come to in-person meetings, there'd be a bunch, not you, but there'd be a bunch of people out there saying, I'm putting people's lives in danger. How could I dare do this? The CDC guideline says this. And I venture to think if I was on the other side of this, people would then be on the other side of it. That's just the nature of my life, unfortunately, sometimes, but we're going to see where it goes. I'm on the record. I think that I'd like to be in person, but if I can't get council members seated and the technology is still an issue, we have, as you correctly said, far more people today, right now. Last Board of Education meeting that I saw, maybe it was 2 meetings ago, 5 or 7 people were there. Here we're at 40 or 50 now. I venture to guess that there's far more people that we can reach today doing it this way. I was also at a live Board of Education meeting a few months ago that they had a 7 o'clock meeting and somebody wanted it at 6 o'clock. And then we have them at 6 and there are people here that say, well, they should be at 8. So you could participate remotely. If you want to participate, you could now watch the meetings afterwards. I get it. We're going to see how this pans out. But as far as Main Street trash, it's actually state of New Jersey, not county. I know the manager wrote a letter to the state. I think they've actually done a pass already because I've seen it been improved just a little bit in certain areas of those on and off ramps on 21 and along Main Street. And as far as the light on Geralman and Union, between the manager, the chief, and DPW, I'm certain one of them can either figure out what's going on or get an update for us. Can you, somebody note on that, gentlemen? Anybody? Mr. Manager, DPW?
That's county road there, Mayor.
So somebody's got to be able to communicate with them though.
Yes, I understand that. They're not so quick to get back with us on that stuff. That's all.
Then, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, one other thing, I apologize. If they're not quick to answer you guys, how do we as taxpayers and residents get them? Because if they're not going to answer you, and again, they might not answer you, but they'll answer a resident.
Right. We'll get on them. We'll put a little more pressure on them between the manager and the chief, and I could even get involved. We'll do
You
that.
need to understand, they don't just jump when one resident wants to put a light up, then that's not gonna do it. You have to understand that too.
Oh, you haven't heard me speak though. You haven't heard.
I do have to move on.
Glory.
So anybody else that's on video, we've already done the email ones. Anybody else on video, just let me see a hand. If I don't see any hands, we are going to go to, I see Mr. Rodriguez. Go ahead. You're still muted. You're muted, sir. You're muted.
Talking to yourself.
There we go. We hear you now.
Hey, happy birthday, Ashley. You know what I mean? And Miss Pena, the woman nomination, can it be a teacher who teaches in the town and doesn't necessarily live in the town?
Yes. Did you want me
yes?
to answer that? I apologize. Yes. Thank you. That's actually a great question. Many people did ask that, and we agreed that they absolutely can, because they are making a big difference in the community, even if they don't live here, but they've been working here for a while.
Awesome. And real quick, as far as your thing about opening businesses in the town, maybe the library could do like informational on, how it is to open businesses in the town and who to talk to with what. And then, conjunction with the ESL, so we could, everybody could, have that information and have like a tutorial, if that's cool. That's all I got. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else that's on video? We're going to go to anybody that's on audio next. I'm only got 2 screens. I'm looking at everybody. I think we're good. So I'm going to open up to anybody that's on audio. Just unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Michael Sheldon.
I think Mr. Sheldon was first. Let's go with.
I'll wait my turn. It sounds like a woman. I'm always the gentleman, ladies first.
All
I'll
right.
come back in a moment.
I think that was a woman.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Sheldon. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. My name is Shatia Ford. I am a resident at 33 Ralph Street. My house is directly across from the drop-off pickup entryway to the daycare center. And initially we thought that it was going to be such a great thing with the kids and their masks and their book bags and bring life and light to the block and hopefully security and attention from the snowplows. But honestly, it has been a traffic nightmare. I've been very patient with a lot of the parents who are pretty much blocking my driveway. Like I said, I'm directly across from that doorway there because I know all they're trying to do is pick up and drop off their kids. But in addition to that, there are cars that are double parking on both sides of the street, adding on to the cars that are legally parked, and the street just becomes jammed packed. I'm just assuming that there was some sort of logical reason as to why the entrance was on Ralph Street and not like on the other side of the building where there's like parking and more space, but it just has become difficult. I don't know about the other residents. Maybe it's more severe for me because of the location of my house. The other day, I actually had to get out of my car. I was like the third car parked or trying to get out from a guy who just had the traffic at a standstill. and there was a school bus trying to get through, and this guy actually got out and was waving the school bus and, you know, to give her direction. And she was so scared to drive by because she didn't want to, you know, cause an accident. And I'm actually an officer for another agency, and I really had to, like, you know, flash my work stuff in order for the guy to listen to me, to just tell him to move out the way, you know. So I wanted to know if there was any possible way to consider, you know, the drop off pickup on the other side of the school. Or years ago, my son went to a charter school where the kids had to be there by 7:15 a.m. And there was a similar situation where all the parents were trying to drop the kids off at the same time. They actually, you know, sent home letters to the parents reminding them, hey, we can't block off the entire street. Or they made a rule that you can only drop off or pick up on the same side of the school and not across the street. They also had like I don't know if it was like an off-duty officer or security who kind of just manned the traffic. There's a gentleman that's usually out there taking the kids in with the temperature and things like that. And I'm sure he's seen my evil eye a few times, but there's absolutely no one there to create some type of order with the traffic. Just to piggyback off of that, I also wanted to know what was going on next door to the school. I heard it was an extension. They're doing all that work on the back of the state fair. I just wanted to know if you can confirm that information.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
All right, so thank you for your comments. We always like to see newer people here and participating. So a lot of this, I would say, it would really probably benefit you a lot. I mean, we're going to do what we can here on the municipal side, but it would really benefit you a lot to probably attend the Board of Education meeting. As you heard tonight, they're actually in person, or they're also remote, but that would probably be the first place to go. But that being said, we'd like to always be able to service any of our residents here. So I know the police chief is on this call. I'm certain that between him and or the manager, they can reach out to Dr. Tomko. We have our police traffic division. Maybe the chief can just put a detail down there just to figure out what's going on. Maybe they can recommend different traffic flow, or maybe they can recommend different times or different pickup options to the school district for that. I know the chief is here. I know he's probably making notes about that as we speak. I know the manager's listening to us. I'm certain he will reach out to Dr. Tomko to see if they can have any kind of better workflow down there. But we're going to do that part on our side. And I would just ask you that maybe, I do know there are some Board of Education members even present on this call now, but I would probably say that you would probably be also well served if you maybe voiced your concerns at a upcoming Board of Education meeting as well. As far as the expansion, I do think they are expanding down there, but again, that's probably an answer for Dr. Tomko and or the board or the school district at one of their meetings. But as far as your traffic issues, I will tell you that the chief will probably certainly have somebody out there to look into it, maybe a detail and some different recommendations to the school district for that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are on the audio peoples. I believe Mr. Sheldon was next, actually.
Yes, thank you. Michael Sheldon, 47 Floyd Street. Just very quickly to answer Mrs. Ford's question, because I was on the board at the time when we approved it. Yes, the Board of Ed is expanding its footprint at the State Fair Complex, moving Board of Ed offices and adding additional pre-K. But as you said, the best place for her to get the full story is to come to the next board meeting, which is this coming Monday, as it would be at the March 15th at 7 p.m. She can ask Dr. Tomko and get all those answers. I was very shocked to learn earlier this evening that the town hall is perhaps facing a budget deficit of $5 to $6 million. General rule of thumb in this town is that every $1 million of tax revenue represents roughly $100 of additional taxes on the median assessed home. So without any infusion of additional unanticipated aid, hopefully it'll become forthcoming from the American Rescue Plan Act currently in the House right now. Just this alone is going to represent a $500 to $600 tax increase on the median assessed home. And that's notwithstanding what the Board of Education may be adding to that mix, which we'll learn within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, quite possibly there could be $1,000 tax increase in the next few weeks, but let's hope that doesn't happen, obviously. Mr. Iacono announced earlier in the meeting that street sweeping is going to resume in early April, the first week of April. I don't understand why it's going to take another 3 weeks to start street sweeping. Our streets, especially the residential areas, are an absolute mess. Most of the snow is now gone. The rest of this week, we're going to have temperatures in the upper 60s, even flirting with 70. So all the snow is going to be gone as impediments. Why do we have to wait 3 more weeks for street sweeping? I would hope that within 1 or 2 weeks, those sweepers could make their first appearances of the season, just as the Swallows return to Capistrano and the Buzzards to Hinckley, Ohio to signify the return of spring. I always look forward to those street sweepers showing up in the latter part of March here in Belleville to let us know spring has sprung. Lawn leaf bags, I assume it's safe to start putting those out on Fridays for collection. Mr. Iacuno didn't say anything about lawn leaf bags, if those are now going to start being picked up regularly every Friday. I noticed at long last, the manager's report that Mr. Iacuno talked about at the last council meeting has now been posted to the township's website. I had sent him email about getting a copy of this a couple weeks ago. As he routinely does, he doesn't respond to my emails. Often I see they're just outright deleted, but at least his manager's report is now on the township website for all to see. But I once again will remind Mr. Iacuno and the council that the user-friendly budgets for both 2018 and 2019 are still not published to the township's website. That needs to be done pronto. iCompass. In the last few days, I've noticed that the agenda packets now have been disabled. I was able these last few months, even though you haven't officially announced the use of iCompass to the township, I was nevertheless able to get the packets from iCompass. In the last week, all of the linkage to the packets have been changed. So now all of the agenda packets from last September through February 23rd are no longer accessible. And I don't see that as an accident. Somebody made the decision to deprive me and everyone else in the township access to those agenda packets. You have been using iCompass since last September. Mr. Graziano, as chair of your technology committee, announced 2 years ago that iCompass was purchased. I think you spent $30,000 for it up front. Ms. Kavanaugh, every time I would ask, says, we're working on it, hopefully next month. 2 years now. When is iCompass finally going to be activated so that all of us have access to the full statements of ordinances, resolutions, bills, lists, et cetera? Now you've actually taken a step backwards. You've further restricted access to what you could get if you knew where to look. And then finally, the painting in your office, Mr. Mellum, as you know from the last meeting, you got a big laugh at my expense when I said that that painting was essentially stolen from the library. It's not library property. It belongs to the Belleville Historical Society. You use your power. You used your powers to appropriate that painting, which doesn't belong to you or the library. Mr. Martino and Chief Minikini, I know for a fact, are in possession of letters from the owner, the family, the Hornbauer family, about the ownership of that painting. I'm sure. I know I just need 5 more seconds. I know Mr. Martino won't talk about this tonight, but I'll make a little wager with you, Mr. Mellum, $10 that come the next council meeting, that painting will be long gone from your office. Thank you.
Okay, so just street sweeper, Mr. Iacuno, any reason why we have to wait 3 months? I need you to just real quick.
Yeah, so just so you know, there is a good reason why we don't start leaves before March. So we start leaves and sweeping right around the same time within the first 15 days of April. If it's not the first week, it's the second week. And again, beautiful weather, no problem, but nobody's going to guarantee that it's not going to drop down to 30s a week from now or 2 weeks from now. And we don't bring out sweepers with ice. So why notify everyone that we're going to have sweeping operation and then the weather drops and then we don't have sweeping operation? Listen, two extra weeks is fine.
Okay, and then iCompass, again, that's Mr. Sheldon's right. You know, we spent, I forget what it was offhand, what we spent on it, but technology in government is usually a big learning curve. Technology in government costs money. Technology in government needs integration by departments, by people, and that doesn't necessarily always happen easily, which is why I'm very hesitant to drop $250,000 on software where every other department already is using existing software. It's a perfect example, actually. So we are on, anybody on audio. So if you're on audio, just unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes. Gonna give it 1 more second. I know we covered a lot of ground today, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion to close public.
Motion to close public.
Second.
Okay, I heard a second. Motion made and second to close public. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are out of public. We are on to resolutions, everybody. So let us do the consent agenda first. Do you have anything? Number 7 for me. Anything else?
Motion to move the consent agenda is what you need?
I'm asking if there's anything to pull than number 7.
I don't think so.
All right, so now I'm going to ask for a motion to move the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion made and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli,
Yes.
DePena,
Yes.
Graziano,
Yes.
Nattari,
Yes.
Rovell,
Yes.
Strumelob Burke. Strumelob Burke. Mayor Melham.
Yes. Okay. I took off item number 7. So this is just a, we spent a lot of time talking about the good things that's going on here in this town. And it's just, we're struggling with getting the process down on just how we tell people about all the good things. So this is a resolution, in my opinion, if I read it correctly, Councilman Rovell is the sponsor. So if he wants to speak, I obviously want to hear from him, but this appears to me that it's kind of restricting the manager's duties and his roles and his responsibilities if we have to do this way. So Councilman.
Well, so what I'm seeing, Mike, and I guess what kind of bothers me is that I know that Councilman Nattari and I had talked about this. We wanted to kind of do a shared service with the Board of Ed because we felt that that was a perfect opportunity to do it. Evidently, nobody else felt that way, last meeting except Vinny and myself. So in an effort to make sure that we don't duplicate efforts, especially since I've seen some Board of Ed stuff on our sites and some other things going on, I think that we vet it through the township manager unless it's an emergency situation, and we can stop that and possibly preclude any type of double dipping occurring as well.
So if I got my hands around this correctly, in order for us, the township, to issue a press release, the entire governing body has to vote on it.
If they would vote on it, approve it. It's basically approve it. And as far as I can see, press releases don't take that long. I mean, I've not seen anything that's that urgent.
But flag raisings are fairly urgent. When good news happens, we want to get it out there right away. We could have to wait a month.
Like if we can't plan for 2 weeks at a time, that's horrible. And
how about July, August, and December when there's only one council meeting?
Hey, we should be able to do it.
I tend to think that
I know, by the way, if you think there's an urgency in that context, you can always use the reverse 911 stuff and say it's an emergency.
So when are we do we have to get approval for reverse 911? I mean, to me,
No, I said emergency situations, no. And I discussed this with, our council and tried to get it so that we can at least get everybody's opinion on what's going on but not preclude any emergency situations.
There's a real good way to get everybody involved, and that's really kind of my opinion, them being involved, I think. So I think that the township manager is a manager. He's a professional manager. He's got his master's in public administration. He teaches at the college. You're telling me that the township manager, a person that you hired and a person that you voted for and a person that we all collectively employ, and he serves literally at the pleasure of this council, we're saying that this man with 20 years experience can't okay a press release without the council's approval?
I think he can do that if it's an emergency situation. Otherwise, why shouldn't we have input? If it's not an emergency situation, we should all have input.
So let's have input every time he okays overtime. Let's have input every time he authorizes anything.
I believe that would be a Faulkner Act violation, which you are well cognizant of. So stop that one.
So we're gonna micromanage him now.
I have no problem moving this and approving it. So
well, I have to actually ask for a motion to move it, and I think
I make a motion to move it.
You can't.
I second.
I have to actually make the motion, actually. So does any other council member want to weigh in for that? Vinny, do you have anything to add?
I think, I do see everyone's point here. I do think Steve has a point where it says he wants some, what do you call it? Some input into what's going on, maybe a little, maybe not input, maybe just to be aware of what we're putting out there, so it should be it should be out there given to us in a formal fashion, at some point like that, so that, the entire
Vinny-
council.
I agree, Vinny.
Just
I
aware.
agree.
So Vinny, you and I have had this conversation. In that regard, any council member, listen, there's only two people in this administration that serve at our pleasure. That's the town attorney and the town manager. Any one of us can call the manager up and say, Mr. Manager, you get the draft of all these press releases. You got to fill me in on this stuff. This is really kind of his duty to fill.
Mike, I was basically told by the town attorney that he can't go out for straw polls and it needs to be done formally. So that's where I'm at here. I wanted to do informally, but somebody sounded their alarm there. So.
Right. No, I get it, but you're telling me that the manager can't make a decision as to what's.
And you're telling me I can't make a motion to move this?
No, you can't.
Hey, Marie, can you make a motion to move it?
Let me ask, can I ask the attorney a question real quick, Steve?
Go ahead.
Not you, Steve, our attorney,
Yeah,
Steve. Yeah, so what is the issue with having, if the manager did call, everyone individually and say, hey, we're doing a press release on X, Y, Z, it wouldn't be a straw poll. He's not calling the entire council at one time and having a meeting, right?
He's going to spend most of this week doing that.
Mayor.
But if he's got a.
Councilman Cosarelli, as soon as he does that, okay, it doesn't have to be all at once.
Right.
Same reason why I indicate you shouldn't all respond separately to an email. It becomes a meeting. If you're taking an action. So if you're going, and I had this conversation, I called Councilman Ravel on my own because when I read the resolution, I immediately had some concern with it. The other resolution, the prior version of it, because as soon as, and there's case law right on point on the issue. If you're not going to take action, you could take a straw poll. But as soon as he makes a decision based on that straw poll, he's taking an action. Okay? So as soon as he does that, you're subject to the Open Public Meetings Act.
I just can't imagine we're taking this much time to discuss the manager okaying a press release. I mean, this is just, it's asinine, in my opinion, asinine that the town manager of this town can't okay a press release. And if he wants to pick up the phone and let every council member know what's going on, he can do that.
That's what I just said. And
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
So I just wanted to understand clarification from Steve Rovell in terms of the intention, because ultimately when I read it and it says all public relations items, are we limiting this to press releases, or is a Facebook post considered a public relation item? Where do we draw this line? Because we do have lives.
I recommend
That
for
has nothing to
everybody,
do with it.
just as you're saying.
Marie, I'm asking Steve.
No, no,
I can't hear.
This is me, just to recommend that
Thank you.
everybody on the council read, the employee manual as to what we can and cannot post. This has nothing to do with you doing personal posts, because that's from you personally.
No, I mean in regards to the approval.
No, anything you want to post out there is yours.
That's not the councilwoman
No,
saying.
my question is, do I have to approve for the manager to make, because it says all public relations items. So if there is just an engagement post, that is public relations. So we're not talking particularly about a press release. So I have a concern about the language being used, whether that states that it implies that I need to approve every single one of those items, because as you know, we all have jobs and lives, and I'm concerned about slowing down the work that the manager is doing.
That was not the intent, and in fact, it should just
I
be
know.
on behalf of the council, the entire council, not individuals. You can post whatever you want, but I would suggest you stay in accordance with our social media policy, because that might help us.
All what the councilwoman is saying. I think Councilwoman, correct me if I'm wrong. We are gonna start street sweeper again. Okay,
Yes.
Jaffe Communications might write a press release so it hits tap into and hits patch, hits all that. But we have to wait 2.5 weeks for a council meeting to okay that press release to put it out.
Like that wasn't that was not what I wanted to do, but
Public
that's
relations.
Yeah.
and if you
All
guys
right,
don't
could
agree,
we-
vote it down. Vote it
Could
down.
we-
I got no
could we,
problem voting it down.
Could we maybe meet at a happy medium here, and say that we leave it up to the manager to, contact us individually, whatever. However, the press release will be on as a communication, any press releases put out there will be put on a communication. So everyone's in the loop. Everyone knows what our PR company has been doing and has been issuing.
That works for me.
Exactly.
Could we
That's
do
a good idea, Vinny.
So how do we do that?
Could we,
We can amend it, can we not?
right, Kelly, could we?
Yeah,
amend-
I would suggest that. Steve, and thank you for clarifying your initial intention, because I that gives me a little bit more insight. I know that that's not what was the intention, because it does say all public relations items and including all written communication. I have an
From the
issue with
council-
that wording.
From the council as a body. That's what the intent was.
Yeah,
All right.
so maybe we can ask the attorney to clarify what that implies for us. I don't feel ready to vote on this on its form right now.
I do like Councilman Cosarelli's amendment, though.
Yeah, as,
Yeah.
we could have it that he could,
Yeah,
contact us
that was, Vinny, that was a good idea.
and, and it's still published as a communication. It'll still be on all of our communications on the agenda.
Kelly, can we make that amendment? Steve, can we make, Steve Martino, can we make that amendment on the fly like this?
We can
Yeah,
amend
you
and
can
pass
make the
as
amendment
amended.
on the fly, but I'm concerned, just so you know, I'm concerned that somebody's not gonna be okay with the wording. I don't know how, Councilman Revelle, it's up to you, but I don't know how urgent this is, and I prefer,
Hey, just
to
pass
work
it as
together.
amended. I got no problem with that. I don't, my intent was not to, constrict other people from having personal opinions.
No,
My
it-
intent was
I
on
agree.
the part of
No,
the
no.
council as a whole.
Yeah,
I've seen some correspondence go out that I did not agree.
so let us get this clear, Councilman Cosarelli. So what you want, and Councilman Lavelle. So what you want it to say is that any matter that's going to go, any press release that's going to be on behalf of mayor and council, you want review
Still
and approve.
vetted,
No,
still
that's not what
vetted
it
through
says.
the manager, still
the-
vetted through the manager. Anthony does have the final say on what goes out,
But it goes on as a
But
communication.
it goes on our stuff as a communication on the agenda.
Yeah.
So we're
Rather
letting-
than having
We're including it in communications.
Yes,
Councilman Rovell, you okay with that?
I'm
As an
okay with
amendment?
that, but I want everybody to understand, there's another piece of this that we need to coordinate with the Board of Ed, because I did see something that should have been a Board of Ed press release on our website, which I'm not sure, and hopefully we weren't charged for that, so.
Well, yeah, so then that's why
Coordination.
if it's under a communication, there'll kind of be a record of it.
Yeah, so that's the only other alternative.
All right,
And
Steve
I-
Martino, I really want to wrap this meeting up. We've spent a
Yeah.
lot of time on this.
I'm good with it.
Okay, Kelly's got it, and I'll just review the wording when she gives it.
Okay,
I'm good.
make a motion.
Okay,
I'm going to ask for a motion to move the amended version of the resolution.
the amended version. Okay.
We have a motion?
Motion.
Second,
We have a motion made in second. Let's do an individual roll call on this, just to be clear. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli,
Yes.
DePena,
I'm voting yes on the amended version.
Graziano,
Yes, amendment version.
Natari,
Yes, on the amendment.
Rovell,
yes, as amended.
Strumelob Burke,
Yes, as amended.
Mayor Melham.
Yes.
Approved as amended.
Thank you. Next item is new business. I haven't seen anything for new business. So I'm going to entertain
Hey,
a,
I just wanted one thing. I would appreciate somebody writing up a resolution, whether it be Kelly or our esteemed council, for Gov Pilot for the next meeting. That's all I got.
okay. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.